being grounded in the soil of the earth. And it is your recognition that you are part of the soil that really matters a lot for Paul, because he recognizes, even then, back in 50 AD, it was well known, that the entire earth is interconnected as a system. And that as we impact one piece of it, there's going to be a reaction on other pieces of it, and so on and so forth, that we're part of a system in the lives that we lead. And for you and I, who are Christian people, who are moved by God as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the kinds of questions that Paul picks up on then in this next section of his letter to the congregation in Ephesus is some questions. Who is God? He's already described that in the earlier parts of his letter, meeting you as Spirit, as in your heart through Jesus, the risen Christ, and as part of the planet Earth. You know, one of the things that happened to me this week, I got stung 16 times. I know, because I counted every one of them. And it was really quite amusing, at least for the rest of my family. They laughed. Did they come to my aid? No, they laughed. And I just walked right over a nest, and in 3 steps, it was all over. Now, here's the point. What are my options? I can go back with Scroods, sorry, Pennsylvania Dutch word, and kill that nest. Or I can say, hey, you know, the colonies have been collapsing because of the different kinds of pesticides that we've been using for many, many generations. And I can just let them alone, and we can make peace. And so, the way we've arrived at a decision, the B's and I's, is that they have their hole, and I will not run over their hole. But the 1 foot all the way around that hole belongs to me, and they may not attack me. And so far, it's worked out nicely.
They understood.
Yeah. Okay, you get the idea. I'm playing, but I'm not playing, because we're talking here about a mindset. And that's what Paul is talking about, a set of your mind in which all things are related and interdependent and interconnected, and that while it is responsible for you, the earth is, you are also responsible for it. And that then causes you and I to ask the questions about who is God, that we should be mindful of such little people as we. Who are you as a human being in this very small planet? And what is the right thing to do with my life that's going to matter, not only to God, but will help to preserve the planet we live on? You've all seen pictures by this time of our planet from the spaceship that is out at Jupiter now, or Saturn rather, and you've seen pictures taken underneath Saturn where there's a little blue dot. That's us, the planet Earth. We are totally insignificant in the cosmos in terms of size and impact and clout. We are just a piece of a much larger puzzle called the cosmos in the Bible. And Paul wants to make that point to us, and as he begins to talk about what it means then to be a follower of Jesus, he starts off by, in a very straightforward fashion, by saying this. When he, Jesus, ascended on high, he made captivity itself a captive. He gave gifts to his people. Now understand what that means. When you look at pictures of the earth from outer space, what do you see? I can tell you what you see, the same thing I do. You see a completely unified, compact orb that changes coloration depending on how the sun hits it and depending on how the cloud formations are. But you see one single planet interconnected. You do not see any bombs going off. You do not see any people getting killed. You do not see any people being hungry. You don't see anybody being sick. You see one interconnected, very peaceful looking And it is for that reason that Paul, who never made it that far, except in the imagination and vision of his mind, as all of us can do, saw the earth through the eyes and the place of heaven, looking to earth, and says, hey, from that perspective, God gave gifts to his people. And it is then that he comes back to earth and begins to talk a little bit more about those gifts. Now, you know the word gift comes from the word chara, which means joy. If you didn't know that, you do now. So, begin with joy. The fact that you are breathing this morning should bring you some joy. The fact that you were able to take nourishment. The fact that you're able to relate to other people, even if you're in a crabby mood, they'll relate to you. There is a sense of joy that goes with the giftedness of God. He then gives the gifts. The word gift in the Bible is charisma. You would think of charisma more in terms of personality and people who can really get your blood racing and rocking and rolling and moving and grooving and the whole thing. Okay, in the Bible, charisma simply means gifts that we have been given, each one of us individually. And when you think about your own life, this is where it's important for we as Christians to engage each other in conversation so that we begin to sort through our personalities and all of the stuff we have and our priorities and see where our giftedness is. It may not always be in the locations that we deem it to be so. And so that is part of the mentoring and caring for each other that Paul will talk about. The other piece, of course, is caritas, that comes from chara, is the root word for joy. Out of joy comes grace, charis. Out of joy comes charisma, gifts. Out of joy comes caritas, generosity of that which you have. Out of chara comes Eucharist, which we call another name for Holy Communion, which means thanksgiving. And so on it goes. And by that means he will talk then also about the way in which we are no longer captives, that Jesus himself has made our captivity a captive. You see, all of the different ways that we're met by God in life, through food, through blessings of all kinds, through family, through friends, through circumstances, vacations, the whole shooting match. All of those things are the ways which God has designed to break our slavery to whatever it is that enslaves us. And by that means we're no longer captives, but gifted people who are free to use our gifts for this little blue marble that we live on, and hopefully can pass it on to the next generations which come after us. Interesting, the way he goes about that is by means of the word one. That was one of the early Christian confessions, like we say the Apostles' Creed.